is. Did I see Jim Ankler?
Huh?
Oh, there he is. Okay. Yeah. Were we ready to start?
Thank
We got two.
2 minutes.
minute and a half. Steps into
Yeah. I have brought my glasses. So.
Remind me to buy a new clock. Thank you so much. Anderson here.
For about 30 seconds.
Just a reminder for anybody in the audience, if you are willing to speak tonight, you do need to sign in here and you only have 3 minutes. It's 7 o'clock, Madam Mayor.
I'll call the meeting to order and we'll have the invocation by Pastor Minkler from the Seabird Chapel Church of God.
Dear Lord, I want to thank you for your care for us, for your care for this town where you've placed us. And Lord, I want to take you up on the promise in your word that wisdom comes from above. And I want to ask, as you promise it, for that wisdom that you give freely and without reproach when we ask in faith. Would you guide with your wisdom this meeting? Would you guide those on this council as they take all of these matters into consideration? You guide those in the audience, Lord, that each one of us would be looking to you. We ask that you would be in this meeting for the betterment of this town. And I ask this in faith because I know you hear when we call to you in prayer. So thank you for bringing us here, and please have your way in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Now we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance led by our Council President, Josh Adams.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda is the Greater Bandon Association with our Volunteer of the Month.
You want to come down here?
I was just gonna wait for you to read it.
You get down here. Guess who the volunteer of the month is? Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council members and staff. It is my pleasure and honor to recognize the August, but it's now September, Volunteer of the Month, Joshua Adamson. Josh is the kind of guy, a community member that every town hopes to have. Even while working full-time and serving on the city council, he seems to find time and the energy to show up, to step in, and to give back in meaningful and lasting ways. Over the years, Josh has worn many hats in service to our community. He served on the board of the Bandon Community Youth Center, contributed his insight on the Bandon School District Budget Committee, and dedicated countless hours to the beloved Cranberry Festival. Josh also contributed to the Holiday with a Hero program last Christmas. His impact continues with the Greater Bandon Association. Josh has served as a board member and currently lends his talents to both the Economic Vitality Committee and the Promotions Committee. So he might be helping out with the Night of 10,000 Lights or driving Santa in the Holiday Lights Parade, but he brings enthusiasm, reliability, which is important, and a true community spirit to everything he does. Josh, your commitment to this community doesn't go unnoticed. You exemplify what it means to serve. And we are deeply grateful for everything that you do. So please join me in congratulating the Volunteer of the Month award, Joshua Adamson. So Josh is receiving an engraved plaque, and he also is receiving a gift certificate to the Cobbler's Bench. Yeah. All right, thank you. And, okay, you can just take his picture in front of the, you stand in front of it. Oh.
The next item on the agenda is a proclamation for Pacific View Assisted Living and Memory Care. So I will read it and then I will present it to McKenna. City of Bandon by the Sea Proclamation. Whereas Pacific View Assisted Living and Memory Care has been a cornerstone of the Bandon community since its founding in 1995, providing care, comfort, and connection to countless residents and their families for 30 years. And whereas Pacific View has served as a home filled with heart and compassion, fostering relationships that embody the spirit of Bandon and enriching the lives of our seniors with dignity, respect, and joy. Whereas this year marks the 30th anniversary of Pacific View's establishment, an occasion that coincides with National Assisted Living Week, celebrating the essential role assisted living communities play in enhancing the quality of life for older adults. And whereas the dedicated staff of Pacific View have worked tirelessly to ensure the well-being of their residents, contributing to the health and vibrancy of our entire community. And whereas Pacific View continues to honor Bandon's history through its commitment to heritage, as reflected in their recognition of landmarks such as Tupper Rock, Grandmother Rock, and their gallery of historical photos that preserve our shared story. Now, therefore, I, Mary Shamahorn, Mayor of the City of Bandon, on behalf of the Bandon City Council, do hereby recognize and commend Pacific View Assisted Living and Memory Care for 30 years of exemplary service and declare September 11th, 2025 as Pacific View Day in Bandon, encouraging all citizens to join in celebrating this milestone and expressing gratitude for their contributions to the community. And I'll forgive whoever put this together and spelled my last name wrong.
I caught it, but then I didn't print the right one.
I know it.
Big step. It's a road. Okay, ladies.
Turn the proclamation around. There you go.
Okay. McKenna, I'll send this to you tomorrow.
Thank you, appreciate that. Just so everybody knows, September 11th, between 1 and 4, we have a huge celebration up there on the hill, so please come join us. We have a band and food trucks and a whole bunch of fun things. And tours.
Okay,
Do we have a list of all the days that we have in Bandon? Anywhere? Calendar?
I'm sorry, the what?
A list of like all the days that we have, the proclamation days? Do we have a list or like a calendar of all the days that coincide with that?
No.
well, a lot of them don't necessarily have programs like McKenna's having,
No.
so,
No, but like there's Pacific View Day or,
yeah.
you know, I just didn't know if there was a calendar of showing all the days.
It's a good idea, though. I'll take it. I'll do that.
Speaking of calendars, next is the consent calendar. Is there anyone here that wants anything to be removed to discuss separately? I didn't really even read it this time.
If not, move to approve?
Second that.
Been moved by Josh, seconded by Archie to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay, here we go.
The elephant in the room.
You're right. I think I better have this. Okay. Now where? Now, if I find the script, I've had the script 3 times tonight, but now I'm not sure where it is. Oh dear.
You got a sticky on top of it somewhere.
No, but that's not the right script. They gave me another one.
It's too thick.
No, that isn't it.
I thought it was 2 pages.
I'm looking for it. Oh, here it is. Yeah, I found it.
Got it?
I did.
Okay.
Okay. I now call to order the public hearing on ordinance number 1673, adoption of the 2025 City of Bandon Transportation System Plan and Comprehensive Plan Update. Today is September 2nd, 2025, and the time is 7:10. The purpose of this hearing is to receive testimony regarding ordinance number 1673. This is an opportunity for the council, staff, and members of the public to provide input on the proposed ordinance. At this time, I would like to ask members of the council to disclose any ex-parte contacts, bias, or conflicts of interest. Please indicate the nature and extent of the ex-parte contact, bias, or conflicts of interest, and indicate whether you intend to participate or abstain from the hearing. Or anybody?
There?
All right.
No.
I've talked to people, citizens.
I've had several phone calls in the last 2 weeks.
I received a call, I believe it was Thursday, from the regional manager of ODOT to talk about the road diet proposal. And numerous community members have talked to me. And I think it's fair to point out the 4 members of this council were here in 2000, it was either 18 or 19, when this issue first surfaced and it was turned down. So we have a long history with dealing with the road diet. Anybody else have any conflict of interest?
I've talked to people too.
Okay. Does any member of the public wish to challenge any counselor's impartiality? We'll begin with the staff report.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. Agenda item 4.1 this evening is a request of the City Council to consider the Transportation System Plan, which is an element of the city's long-range comprehensive plan, which is a policy document of the city. The TSP is a 20-year planning document that guides the city's future transportation needs. The council is considering an update to the city's existing 2000 TSP. The 2025 TSP before you this evening includes 72 transportation projects, one of which was referenced by the mayor and pertains to the proposed reconfiguration of Highway 101. Adoption of the TSP does not authorize implementation of these projects, and I emphasize each project will require future city council approval at duly noticed public meetings. Cities are required to adopt TSPs to establish transportation systems designed to meet the community's needs. Local TSPs must be consistent with the Oregon Transportation Plan, the state's planning goal, transportation planning rule, the state's implementation plan under the Clean Air Act. Adoption of the TSP this evening by the City Council allows referral of the document to DLCD for acknowledgement. A state acknowledged TSP is required for the city to be eligible to receive up to $26 million in grant funding for local transportation improvements. I would like to take a moment to introduce some ODOT representatives who are in attendance and who'll be available to answer any specific questions, along with the city's transportation consultant and city staff. We have Chris Hunter, ODOT Area Manager, Mike Baker, ODOT Planning and Development Manager, Tom Gravera, ODOT Senior Transportation Planner, and the planner assigned to this project. At this time, I will defer the remaining portion of this presentation to Community Development Director, Jeff Mitchum. Jeff?
Thank you, Tori. Just real quickly, it's an honor to be here before you. It's my first time with an item, so here we go. Briefly, I just want to do a little procedural housekeeping for you. This is a type 4 legislative land use procedure that is entertaining Planning Commission's unanimous recommendation to approve the 25 Transportation System Plan and Comprehensive Plan Update. So both of those are folded in together in one action tonight for you. If approved, the TSP will be incorporated by reference into our comprehensive plan, as required by statute for compliance with Oregon Planning Goal 12, and that's all about transportation. So the state requires that our comprehensive plan have a chapter in it it be referenced by its entirety, or rather the TSP be referenced by entirety into that document. So we will change the document accordingly. I want to make sure that we understand the contents of the plan. As Tori mentioned, there are 72 projects within it. They are comprehensive throughout the entire community, including US Highway 101, internal roadway connections between Highway 101, mostly east-west connectors, some pedestrian crossings in key locations throughout the city, bicycle facilities, pedestrian facilities, a lot of parking and demand management strategies, public transportation, freight mobility, and finally, policy actions that help us in the future, us staff, guide you all and the community through the implementation of those projects, which will be by public hearing at your vote. Nothing will happen unless we convene in this manner and you all vote to proceed with these projects. There is mention, has been a lot of mention, as Tori highlighted, on the 101 alternatives, and I suspect that's why a lot of folks are here. There are 4 alternatives. You get to select one of those alternatives. There is an alternative which parametrics will go into a great level of detail on. ODOT is here as well to highlight other components of those alternatives. And if you select one of those alternatives tonight, that will be incorporated by reference into the ordinance, which will be substantively changed prior to a second reading. So we'll capture your consideration of the record here tonight, your consideration of public testimony, and then you will direct staff how to proceed from that point forward. And with that, I just want to summarize quickly that the Planning Commission recommended action for you is to hold a public hearing, consider testimony and the record in its entirety, request that City Attorney read Ordinance 1673 by title only, make a motion to pass 1673, adopting the TSP and amending our comprehensive plan, and then pass the item on for second and final reading, as amended by you all tonight. With that, I'll pause and ask any procedural, if there are any procedural questions from you. Other than that, I can turn it over to parametrics staff to get into the details of.
Well, I have a procedural question.
So do I.
Yeah.
What was the vote of the planning commission? What did they recommend?
Option 3, which is
Just,
ODOT's
I need to
preferred.
know-
Yeah, yeah.
needs to know what
Yep.
that is.
That was a unanimous vote on the part of your planning commission.
And that would be, they need to know what it is.
They need to know exactly what
It-
option 3 was.
One lane
Yeah,
and 2
that'll-
lanes and then switching halfway.
Right.
Option 3.
And they'll get into it in great detail in the next presentation.
Okay, as long as people understand what the planning
Understand
commission.
what the planning commission did.
I have a question. With this intergovernmental agreement, who is this with? Like, who's it signed? How can we guarantee that?
Yes, the intergovernmental or IGA agreement was developed in collaboration with ODOT and myself. It was generated in an effort to memorialize the city's requirement to have an item presented to the city council at a future date and time relative to the proposed reconfiguration of Highway 101. So what that says is it's a legal binding document. It's still subject to DOJ review and approval. We have some further revisions that we'll introduce with regards to the timing of terminating the document, but it is what's being presented is substantially in conformance with what we have discussed with ODOT. We think that this, in addition to possibly a condition of approval, as well as further expanding on the ordinance and the terms of the ordinance presented this evening, will help allay concerns expressed by the community and I think address the concerns of the city council. But before we get into this discussion, I think it's appropriate to defer to parametrics, who will go over in detail the TSP alternative 3. And then at that point, if there's discussion or comments that you would like city staff to address, we could fill them at that time.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Should I begin sharing my screen and start the presentation?
Yes, please do.
Okay, and can everyone see the PowerPoint presentation?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, everyone. Just to
Oh,
briefly.
I did give you a printout of it. Okay, thank you.
Just to briefly introduce myself, I'm Emily Ministo Myers. I'm a transportation planner at Parametrics. We are the consulting firm that's been working on this project from its beginning in March 2023.
Got it.
So I'd like to keep this presentation relatively brief because we really want the discussion to be the focus tonight. And most of this information should be reviewed to folks who are here. We'll go over the TSP context, walk through a recap of our engagement activities. We will dive into what's included in the draft transportation system plan, and we'll talk through next steps. So what is a TSP? A transportation system plan is a plan that addresses transportation needs now and into the future. It's a 20-year plan that contains projects like new sidewalks, programs like parking management, policies, and standards. And this TSP updates Bandon's 2000 TSP, so it definitely requires some updating after 25 years. The purpose of the TSP update is to fulfill the Transportation Growth Management Grant requirements in developing a TSP that's compliant with state requirements and regulations. The TSP will need to be adopted by City Council as a plan amendment and acknowledged by DLCD as meeting state requirements. Upon adoption and acknowledgement, TSP projects then become eligible for local, state, and federal funding programs. So to review our community engagement activities, we had our first online open house in late 2023. And this focused on issues and needs in the transportation system in Bandon. The key things that we heard were a desire for more east-west connections throughout the city, but especially the donut hole. Better walking and biking facilities, including in more popular areas like Seabird Drive, Beach Loop Drive, and US 101. But also a focus on bike routes throughout the city, school campus area, and then improved intersections and pedestrian walkways and crossings. There's a desire to return the shuttle or trolley service to provide a way to get around to popular destinations in Bandon. And there was also a focus on traffic during school pickup and drop-off times. It can cause some traffic congestion issues. We then had an in-person open house in April 2024 to discuss draft improvements to be included in the TSP. And when asked about whether the TSP improvements for pedestrian, bicycle, and local street systems are on the right track, over half of the respondents thought that they were. Some key takeaways include there were some conflicting views on new road projects, especially through the donut hole. There's a desire for more of a focus on pedestrian improvements, especially with Bandon's aging population and with the amount of people who are walking along some of the more popular areas, and a focus on city and local street improvements, as opposed to just fixating on US 101. After the initial outreach, we did realize that we needed to do some additional outreach specifically focused on US 101. So we had an in-person and online open house, and we had a survey where we received 50 responses. So combined, 48% of the responses supported either lane reconfiguration A or B, which we'll get into in a bit. 44% supported none of the above. But however, a no-build option wasn't presented. We only included options that do meet those state requirements. And the Oregon Bike Bill is a state law that does require bike facilities to be installed on all state roadways. So all of the options presented did include this option. When asked if the recommended alternative 3 is an appropriate option for US 101, the results were kind of split, with some respondents unsure about alternative 3, which is the 2 lanes in one direction, 1 lane in the other. We also, from the comments that we received that came with this survey, you could interpret these results as people being unsure of what the effects of alternative 3 are. This concept is a bit more nuanced than the classic road diet. And some people had questions about the ability to implement this as a pilot project to understand the impacts and do a trial run. In our last online open house, which is just this past June, we didn't receive too many responses, But again, the results show conflicting views, but with some substantial support for the local street system projects. So our TSP projects are solutions that were identified through a combination of technical analysis, coordinating with the project management team, input from City Council and the Planning Commission, coordination with the Project Advisory Committee and the general public. First, we will talk through the US 101 improvements, and then we'll move on to citywide improvements. So the recommended option for US 101 that we were referring to is alternative 3. This improvement would, from Delaware to 13th, remove 1 northbound travel lane, but retain 2 southbound travel lanes, and it would add bike lanes in both directions. From June Avenue to Delaware Avenue, it's slightly narrower, so the project is modified accordingly. As an ODOT-owned highway, all proposed improvements to US 101 must meet minimum state requirements. So as part of the US 101 study, ODOT developed several options for US 101 that do meet these minimum standards for the public to choose from. The no-build option, again, was not presented as a project alternative because state law requires bike lanes on roadways to meet these state standards. Some highlights of the alternative 3 option are its lower cost. It reconfigures the existing curb-to-curb space, so no moving curbs, wouldn't require additional right-of-way or impacts to building and property, and as a result, this keeps the cost relatively low. It adds dedicated space for biking on US 101. It also creates more separation between people walking on the sidewalks and vehicles moving at fast speeds. It reduces speeding. And it also, as we stated, will meet the minimum state standards and the Oregon Transportation Rule requirements. Our traffic analysis shows that it may slightly increase vehicle queues and cut through traffic, but analysis also shows no significant impacts to traffic operations, and they would still meet standards. Importantly, this could be implemented as a temporary pilot project before investing in more permanent capital-intensive improvements. So again, I don't think these should be new to everyone, but the idea is that from June Avenue to Delaware Ave, currently there are 2 lanes in each direction. Alternative 3 would remove 1 lane in each direction and add a center turn lane as well as 6-foot bike lanes. For Delaware Avenue to 13th Street, again, there are currently 2 lanes in each direction with a center turn lane. Alternative 3 would have 2 southbound lanes and 1 northbound lane. And some background for this, we heard from folks that the school area with the congestion, that 2 southbound lanes would be more beneficial than 2 northbound lanes. So here's an overview of just the overall recommendations for US 101. This includes the cross-section change, but also includes new enhanced crossings and intersection improvements. And here's just kind of an illustrative view of what this may look like. So again, this is the June Avenue to Delaware Avenue section with 1 lane in each direction and 6-foot bike lanes. And this is Delaware Avenue to 13th, which is 2 southbound lanes, 1 northbound lane, a center turn lane, and bike lanes. So we wanted to highlight some citywide transportation improvements. Some project highlights that we know that people are excited about are improving Beach Loop Drive. So adding separated walking and biking facilities, which would make it safer for everybody to use Beach Loop Drive. Improvements to Seabird Drive. If you came to our event last week, these are focused on near-term low-cost improvements, but we definitely heard loud and clear that the more substantial improvements that are included in the TSP, like sidewalks, bike lanes, or a shared use path, are very important to people. We also have greenways on low-stress neighborhood streets. These would be lower-cost improvements to make biking and walking feel more comfortable. Improve crossings near the schools, and then developer-supported improvements, so holding developers accountable for adding improvements. The pedestrian system, this is the same map that we've had previously. kind of illustrates the continuous network for people walking throughout the city. And the bicycle system, including greenways on neighborhood streets and bicycle and pedestrian facilities on some of the busier roadways. For roadway improvements, we'd be proposing more east-west roadways through the donut hole. These new connections would make it easier to get around town, would serve planned and future development, would alleviate some stress, traffic stress and congestion on some of the other roadways. And these new roadway connections would also include pedestrian and bicycle facilities. This is the map of the roadway improvements, but just a note that these are not defined alignments. They're pretty high level alignments, and they would need to be adjusted based on further study. For parking issues, we know that in the summer, parking can be a problem when it's most busy. So some areas to focus on include Old Town and Beach Loop Drive. And these parking policies could be implemented to address issues, including increasing awareness of existing parking lots, potentially implementing time constraints or pricing in certain areas, investing in the shuttle, and developing new parking lots for larger vehicles. Also, this could include adding some travel information for people visiting so they're aware of what options are available. For public transportation, the transportation plan proposes improving signage, adding some amenities, and the bike and pedestrian improvements would improve access to the existing bus stop. Also, programs that would increase awareness of the existing transit in Bandon, and ideally a local circulation shuttle that would connect to popular destinations in the city. So for TSP funding eligibility, something that's important to understand is if the TSP is adopted, these transportation projects citywide would be eligible for potential grant funding. If the city chooses not to adopt the TSP, grants would likely not be available for any of the projects that are not already included in the TSP from 2000. So to do a comparison of the projects that are included in the 2000 TSP compared to the 2025 TSP, new roadway connections through the donut hole were proposed in the 2000 TSP. We're continuing those on through the 2025 TSP. These have quite a high price tag, 1.8 million to 7 million per project. The bike plan map in the 2000 TSP does show bike lanes on US 101, but there's no identified project that actually goes with it. As we talked through, the alternative 3 would restripe US 101 to add bike lanes. However, the implementation is intended to be on a temporary 12-month pilot project period. And again, as others mentioned, this would be subject to future city council approval. The 2000 TSP does not identify any parking and demand management strategies, while the 2025 TSP does. Same thing for public transportation projects, like the trolley and partnering with transit agencies and providing better information on existing services. In the 2000 TSP, there are no shared use paths, so those roadway adjacent paths for people walking and biking. In the 2025 TSP, we have pedestrian and bicycle shared use paths on busy walking and biking routes like Seabird Drive and Beach Loop Drive, among others. And these do come with a pretty high price tag, so the total cost for these shared use path projects in the city would be $14 million. In the 2000 TSP, there are no specific pedestrian crossings proposed, whereas the 2025 TSP includes a bunch of new standard and enhanced pedestrian crossings, and these would be about 3.7 million. The pedestrian plan map in the 2000 TSP does show a sidewalk network, but it doesn't specifically identify projects. The 2025 TSP includes sidewalk infill and upgrades across town, including 11th Street, 8th Street, and Oregon Avenue, and these are about 4.5 million. Again, 2000 TSP shows a bike plan network, but no projects, whereas the 2025 TSP identifies neighborhood greenways on those quieter local streets and adding bike lanes on US 101 and Rosa Road. So something really important is there's approximately $7 million over the lifespan of the Bandon TSP, the 20-year plan, that are considered financially feasible under the revenue that Bandon is anticipated to have. The remaining projects are categorized as aspirational, so there's no funding currently available for them, and these will require external funding or competitive grants. If the TSP is adopted, then the city of Bandon would be eligible to apply for about $26 million in projects that would help make these projects a reality. The TSP projects will allow Bandon to accommodate the growth that's already happening and help preserve community quality of life. It will hold developers to standards, which means that when new development occurs, improvements will need to be added, including sidewalks, et cetera. It also improves eligibility, as we just mentioned, for grant funding to leverage outside resources. So those more substantial improvements that have higher price tags in areas that are key concerns for residents, like Seabird Drive, Beach Loop, and the like. Also, this, as mentioned, is backed by the Planning Commission, which does recommend the adoption of the TSP. Thanks so much, and I'm excited to hear what everyone thinks, and I'll turn this back over to City Council for discussion.
I've got a question for parametrics.
Yes.
Are you still there?
Yes.
Why did you include the, well, let me read it. It's on your page number. Hang on. I didn't print the whole thing out. I just took a picture of the page. It's page number ES5. And the third paragraph up. No, second paragraph up where you're saying local funding recommendations. You are still recommending a consideration of raising the permanent tax rate. Can you tell me why that is still in there?
It's just included as a menu of options. It's something that would obviously need to be passed and voted on. In
by
the
the whole
funding
state.
recommendations section, we're just including just kind of a menu that could be utilized to implement some of these transportation projects. It's by no means a necessity.
But you know that that has to be voted on by the state, not the city.
No city or school district or anybody in the state of Oregon can raise their permanent property tax rate. And that came about with ballot measures 5 and 50 in about 1995. So we have no option, no matter how many of the whole community could vote for it. We can't.
Doesn't
do it.
matter.
So it should not be listed as an option.
So I'm not understanding why you as an Oregon corporation put that into our final document. If you could explain that to me, I'd appreciate it.
Ryan, can you help address that question? I'm not sure if the
Yeah, let me bring my
of the state.
video up. So we're talking about which table again? I'm sorry, I was pulling up the TSP to
ES5.
find this.
Just
ES5.
the funding recommendation that there's the potential option to consider raising the local property tax.
The permanent property tax.
Yes.
There's two different things. There's local option and permanent.
So, yeah, fine. I think I found it here. So there's a variety of local taxes proposed.
We're not talking
and,
about local tax. I'm talking about what you specifically said in there. It says permanent property tax. It says that in your document. I just want to know why it was included.
That's a general recommendation we often include with TSPs, knowing that it's got hurdles that require state action to enact. But it's something we often include because property tax can be used for transportation projects. We bring it to city's attention because it is a potential funding source if it were available to do that, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
Now, can we ask a question of something that they said there? Parametrics? I don't know the procedures here. All right. You mentioned that cities are required to add bike lanes and pedestrian paths with the new law, but with the bike law. But actually it says it only pertains to construction, reconstruction, or relocation activities. It does not include widening, realignment, and any even full depth pavement. It would take full depth pavement. So if we don't do anything out here on the highway, other than just a little overlay, we are not required to do a lane reconfiguration. And it should spell that out, because I think maybe the public was misled in some of these to think that we had no option. And we had a meeting here with the state, in fact, the man sitting over here right now, and he says, if we do any type of major capital improvement, it triggers the Oregon Bike Bill. But a lot of things simply do not trigger it. We are not required to do this, so they can stop holding a gun at our head, because we are not required to do this.
Exactly.
That's correct. Yeah.
I also have one more question. I noticed in your, and I think this is where I saw it, you mentioned sidewalks on Oregon Avenue, 11th and 8th, but I didn't see any specific mention. It may be in there, and correct me. It didn't say any specific mention about Seabird, whereas there is a terrible need for sidewalks on Seabird, because they have a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit with
Yeah, thanks. That's a really great.
reduced to 30, because of the information in here says 45. Well, let me tell you a little story. It was the state set it at 45.
Yes, they did.
But one of our people, and I think he's in the room tonight, Richard, we were so tired of getting comments from the people that live out there that Richard took it upon himself, and he got some 35-mile-an-hour speed limits signs, and he went out there and took down the 45-mile. Well, I didn't realize that. Well, I had some calls from people out there wanting to see if we could even get it lower. So I contacted my friend at the state, who was a regional manager, and he looked it up, and he said, well, actually, if you go before the speed board, they're going to ask you why it's now 35 when it was supposed to be 45. So we didn't really, but finally I guess we were allowed to go to 30. But it's still very dangerous out there, and I don't know if I saw Seabird. Are there specific Seabird sidewalks?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the most, the projects that I really wanted to highlight. So it was included in the project highlights, excuse me, in the presentation. Seabird Drive is a project that we've heard a lot about. So this is an area that would either have a shared use path, so fully separated from the roadway, that would be available for walking and biking, or sidewalks and bike lanes. However, there needs to be more study for measuring the roadway and some environmental factors. It just would require further study to specify which type of facility, but that is absolutely a top priority for walking and biking facilities.
Because I think the public understands that most of the things that are in the transportation plan are good things. We need them, but there's just one little glitch that some of us can't live with. So, but it doesn't mean that we're not going to throw out the entire transportation safety plan, because it's a necessary document, but.
Can I just clarify one thing real fast, that
Yes.
back to the discussion around the bike bill. And Madam Mayor, the discussion around, what triggers the bike bill, and you listed some of the conditions where it would be triggered, as in, major reconstruction would trigger the bike bill, and looking at bicycle facilities on the state route. But I did also want to mention that separate from the bike bill, the transportation planning rule does require that cities plan for a connected network of cycling and walking facilities as well. So there is that need in other parts of state law. I just wanted to mention that.
You do realize that Bandon has an already accepted bike route. That's what bothered me, to think that we're trying to go through town with a bicycle route, when right now they're required to come down Riverside Drive, go down First Street, up Edison Avenue, Ocean Drive, and Beach Loop, and whether they come out at Seabird or clear out at 101, we have an accepted bike route. And it just seems to me that so much of this discussion centers around not having a bike route when we already have one. But it's just, well, it'll be pretty soon. There'll be public testimony. So now I'm trying to follow this script. So now questions from the council to staff. Does anybody else have questions? Okay. So now have we received any written correspondence? All right, yes, we've received a lot. Here's, I don't know if these all came in today. They all came in today. There were letters from 13 people and they all opposed the road diet. Public testimony. Now we're gonna let the people talk. All right, I think if you wish to speak, please state whether you live within the city limits or outside the city limits. If you are attending via Zoom, please use the raise your hand feature and you will be called on. Testimony will be limited to 3 minutes per speaker. And please be nice. Oh no, it says respectful. Hmm? Oh, yeah, another thing, well, everybody's here. I'd just like to get an idea of how many people are here who are against the road diet.
And please, people on Zoom, raise your hands. If you so
We won't, I guess
want
we
to.
can't see them.
Well, yeah, if they raise their hands, we can, can't we? We can?
Well, we can if they raise it the right way, but there's none.
All right,
Okay.
well, that's all right. Okay, thanks,
Okay.
guys. All right, so now do we have people signed up? Do you want
Yes,
to
we
tell
do.
me who they are? Okay,
Sally?
Mayor Mary, council members, members of the staff and government officials and everyone in the audience. I'm here as a Bandon citizen to express my opinion. You already have had my planning commission input. I have serious concerns over the possibility that a TSP will not be approved. I believe we should follow the Oregon law. And I have a current TSP approving the requirements of the law. As you know, ODOT has allowed for the approval of that TSP without the implementation of any changes without council approval. By accepting the proposal and recommended TSP, we will be in compliance. Compliance allows us to apply for grants for many of the projects that we have had on a list for a very long time. These issues, such as the lack of pedestrian safety, just to name one, would not be possible without grants. Also, I'm all in favor of people being requested to give their opinion as long as the request is made in a neutral way. Neutral means you don't put out your position and then ask for people to support that. Some of the comments made about the retirement committee in the past not being able to adopt to the TSP just seems a very bizarre thing to me. The age of our community should not affect whether or not we can adapt to change. I believe we can. The information presented by ODOT assures us that nothing would be done for years. That was said at the meetings I've heard. In light of the state funding issues, I'm inclined to believe that we're not going to have to be presented or have a road diet shoved down our throats. They've already said the approval of the plan doesn't constitute permission to change anything without council approval. Thank you.
next.
Nancy Bailey, 601 Seabird Drive. Dear Mayor and City Council members, I am writing to express my strong opposition to the proposed road diet on Highway 101 in Bandon. While I support the overall transportation system plan and believe it contains many worthwhile improvements for our community, I urge the council to reject the Highway 101 road diet portion of the plan. Highway 101 is the primary north-south corridor for residents, tourists, freight, and emergency services. This highway is not just a local street. It is a major state route that carries high seasonal traffic volumes. Narrowing the roadway will slow travel, create backups, and frustrate residents and visitors alike. With fewer lanes, ambulances, fire trucks, and police would have less ability to maneuver quickly, particularly during peak hours or in the event of an evacuation, such as a tsunami or a wildfire. Easy access and flow along 101 is essential for our tourism-based economy. Traffic congestion and delays may discourage visitors from stopping in town, reducing vital economic activity. Contrary to claims that road diets improve safety, forcing freight trucks, RVs, and heavy traffic into fewer lanes on the highway could lead to more aggressive driving, dangerous passing, and rear-end collisions. In contrast, the remainder of the TSP includes practical and much-needed improvements, such as sidewalk infill, pedestrian crossings, bicycle facilities, and local street connections. In particular, the TSP identifies the need for another long overdue east-west connector street between Highway 101 and Beach Loop Drive, which would alleviate increasing numbers of resident, tourist, and construction vehicles on Seabird Drive. The need for another east-west connector was identified as far back as the previous TSP. Collectively, these measures would make our community safer and more livable without disrupting the vital function of our main highway. For these reasons, I respectfully request that the City Council reject the Highway 101 road diet proposal, but move forward with the adoption of the rest of the transportation plan. This balanced approach would allow Bandon to enhance local mobility and safety while preserving the essential flow of traffic on our lifeline corridor. Thank you for your consideration and for your service to our community.
Thank you, Nancy.
George Davis?
Thank you. I'm a bit confused. Can the council take out part of this plan? Or does it have to be passed in total tonight?
No, we have several options. In fact, in the beginning, I believe we had 6 options to choose from. The staff and the planning commission chose option 3, alternative 3, but we have other options, and it may be that we choose a different option, but it would just then be included in the plan.
No, I'm sorry, Madam. I mean the transportation plan in total, which is before you tonight.
Yes, we could send them whatever plan we want, but it has to be okayed by the state.
Okay, but you can take out this road diet portion.
Yeah, we
and
can take
put
it out.
the existing bike route that we have.
Yes, but I do believe they've made it clear if we don't have anything about the road diet or the road reconfiguration, then they're not going to give us the okay.
Yeah, I've followed this thing right from the start, from years ago. when it
Years
first
ago.
came up. And I have a hard time getting out onto 101 as it is now, not just during the tourist season, year round. Traffic buzzes through there at a high speed, and coming up off of Harlan, trying to get on is impossible at times. I don't know what this whole operation cost us, but what I see our taxes going up for our vehicles, our gasoline taxes, and I just wonder what this operation costs. Bicycles, how many bicycles does anybody see going through town on 101 compared to the amount of vehicles that use it?
The plan says 1%.
1%. I tried to get out of McKay's parking lot this afternoon with 2 lanes.
No, try that with 1 lane.
It's going to be impossible. Thank you very much.
Thank you, George.
I can't, I'm sorry, Robert? Am I correct? And what's the last name, sir? Thank you.
Oh, I know.
My name's Robert McClarnon. I live in the donut hole. And I'm just amazed that this consult company has put together this thing, and it seems like just ridiculous. On one hand, they put a carrot out that you guys are supposed to bite on for possibility of endless supplies of money and ballots and everything else to go with it. And in fact, it just works harder at ruining what we know is Bandon. I would be my vote to dump the whole thing and tell them to reconsult themselves and come back with a plan that fits. I don't know where these folks are from, but they sure don't know Bandon. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's also, as his reference, I think it's also to remember that we have a plan that was approved in the year 2000. The Seabird traffic light was a major issue, as was the 20th Street connector, and neither one of them, I don't believe, is any closer to occurring, but we already have that. We don't, in the plan, yes, it's outdated, but we haven't done some of the things that are already in the plan that we could do with, we have an approved plan. Who's next?
Neil?
Hi, Neil Barlow. I live in Bandon. Glad to see you all again. Actually, following up from the gentleman behind us, there is continued development west of the highway. You know, Beach Loop, Donut Hole, that area, gravel points going forward. Seabird Drive. There's houses being built both sides. There, so the east-west, north-south connectors, I think, are critical to the development of the city, not just from day-to-day traffic, but also a safety issue in case of evacuation, tsunami or fire. There's no way to get out from Beach Loop.
Right.
So we need those connectors. And my main concern, which the mayor commented on, is that those were actually in the plan 25 years ago and nothing has happened.
That's right.
So I think the city shouldn't just be adopting a plan, it should be adopting an action plan, which is actually start looking for this money so these can actually vote, because hopefully I'll be here in 25 years, but I don't want people, my grandkids coming back in 25 years, having the same discussion about north, south, east, west connectors. And if passing this TSP in whatever form is required to get that money, then it needs to be passed.
Thank you.
Could I just add something to the east-west connectors, and correct me if I'm wrong? The city does not own straight property from 101 to Beach Loop, correct?
That's correct.
So if we ever were to do an east-west, we would have to buy or take property from public property?
Yes,
I mean,
those are
private
all
property?
privately owned properties, and I'll defer to the consultant because it's addressed in the TSP. Emily?
The problem is that 25 years ago, it would have been a lot easier to obtain the easements that have now have been built on and purchased. And that's the problem with waiting, is that we've lost a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, that's correct. The city vacated the right of way. So there would have to be acquisition of right of way. But that would be through further study. So again, as noted in the presentation, the alignments that are shown on the maps are really high level, and there would need to be a lot of coordination required in order to make these happen.
Next.
Kim?
Hi, my name is Kim Consul. I live in the Donut Hole. And I already sent an email comment to all of you, and I wish the public could hear what was in it too, so this will make sense. I requested amendments and revisions to the draft TSP and gave justifications for those amendments in detail. My amendment requests were as follows. Remove the street names and locations of 20th Street Southwest and Franklin. Change it to R4 East-West Collector Road and R6 North-South Collector Road. The same should apply to proposed bicycle, pedestrian, and greenway street locations and names PB6, PB8, and G13. Next, change the priority and timeframe of the donut hole projects in the TSP. Remove these projects from the financial feasible category and change them to aspirational. Please consider making these amendments before voting to accept the 2025 TSP. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Trisha Clancy? You need help? It's okay.
Hi, my name is Tricia Clancy and I've lived in the area for over 25 years. I currently live on Edna Lane and I own property on Edna Lane.
Speak into the microphone.
I'm sorry.
That's good. That's
Oh,
better.
I don't need to repeat any of that?
No.
Okay. I have a few concerns. Firstly, that G13, the new greenway on Edna Lane, which is surrounded by significant wetlands, creeks and drainage ditches. It is a narrow gravel one-lane road off of 101 that dead ends and then turns into Harrison Road. Both sides of Edna have deep drainage ditches for runoff from 101 and the wetlands. In the winter, it always floods. Also, because it is so narrow, only one vehicle can drive at a time, making this new greenway for pedestrians, cyclists, and local traffic a chaotic situation and unsafe for all concerned, particularly in the winter. Plus, several private residential properties on Edna Lane are right on the road, making it future widening of the road very difficult. My second one is PB8, the extension of a new road from Franklin going south that will cross Edna to Carter, again causing traffic problems, especially if cars decide to turn left on Edna to reach 101. Again, this area of development is through lots of wetlands, creeks, thick vegetation, and will greatly affect residential private properties and will be very difficult and expensive. My third concern, the new bike pedestrian routes going north-south, there are already two there already. One goes from Carter north through Gravel Point to the city park. It's a wide gravel path that never floods. The second one goes from Harrison to Jackson, then onto the city park. Both of these routes are already used by cyclists, pedestrians, and occasional cars, and have been used for many years. Finally, last week, Oregon Chief Economist Carl Riccadona stated that Oregon will be soon entering a growth recession due to billions of dollars of cuts in federal funding and tax cuts. In conclusion, with all this uncertainty in our economy, maybe we should take a step back, reassess some of the new road proposals, and decide what is absolutely necessary and affordable for the community of Bandon and its residents. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Beverly?
Good evening. My name is Beverly Segner, and I first moved to Bandon when I was 28 years old. I'm a little bit older now. And I own property in the city limits, and I live outside of the city limits. And I spent quite a few years in Coos Bay. And when I recently took up residence in Bandon again and saw the transportation plan, I was very distressed and concerned. There were some of these similar proposals instituted in Coos Bay, and the things that happened are exactly what everyone's talking about. You don't see cyclists on the bike lanes because anyone in their right mind would not want to ride a bike on Highway 101 if they have an alternate route. Also, these center turn lanes that are all the rage. I've seen so many near misses. There's one over by Staples and the college, and it doesn't really give a distinct pathway. So for the left-hand turn person, there's this central lane, as you know, and there's two cars frequently coming in the same direction or towards each other. And that's, I just want to say that my experience with taking two lanes and reducing them to one lane, the concerns that people expressed here, I've seen it for myself in Coos Bay. People got more aggressive. They're driving faster. It's creating congestion. It's not a good scene. And last but not least, I really, the whole notion of using, creating more pathways and speedier roads, I don't think's the answer. I think slowing things down in general is a good plan. And I agree with the person who said reassessing the whole thing from a point of view of what is Bandon and who do we want to be going forward? And is the current plan really moving us in that direction? Thanks.
Thank you.
John Carlton.
Hi, I'm John Carlton. I'm a born and raised Bandon resident, moved away, but moved back when I started having kids. I have a few concerns. I worry about if Coos Bay, who's constantly trying to expand, especially their port, I would say any town connected to that disaster would like every lane possible to move. But my biggest concern right now is if the state has any plans, if they do want to remove a lane, what is their plan for our fire department? Our fire department is located south of town. Most of our volunteers drive personal vehicles to get to such place. You can remove a northbound lane, well, then the fire department themselves has trouble getting to the places on time. You can remove a southbound lane, and then the personal vehicles will have reduced time to even get to the firehouse. We don't live at the firehouse, they live at home. I would like to see the state actually come to us with a proposal of how they could correct this problem. And thank you.
Thank you. I'll add a little to that as far as the fire department's concerned. When we addressed this in whatever was 2018 or 2019, no one from either the state or the city bothered to ask the fire department. Well, Lanny Boston is a very good friend of mine, so I decided after the huge hue and cry that went up once we adopted it. We originally adopted it. Well, then the community let us know in no uncertain terms what they thought of that. And so I finally contacted Lanny Boston, and he said that he would be the first one to sign our recall petition if we ever put a road diet, because he said it is extremely hampering to vehicles, to emergency vehicles. So I just keep the same letter. Lanny's still down there. He was only chief for 50 years, but now he's still there, but now we have a new chief, but I'm pretty sure that he would feel the same way. Next.
Pamela Hanson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and our councilman, councilwomen. I have the very same concerns about emergency. I serve on the hospital board of directors. I'm not able to speak for the hospital, but I speak for myself from that aspect. Really concerned about 11th Street and emergency vehicles, about 101 and emergency vehicles. My second concern about the flow of traffic includes 11th Street to Fillmore to Riverside. That's the way the locals are going to go. They are going to bypass 101 because they know how to do it. And so we're going to have extra pressure on those roadways, and I don't think they're equipped to take it. So I have a concern about that. My other concern was as sitting on the beginning of this committee and kind of falling by the wayside, is that it seemed to me it was instead of a good community effort committee with the state, it's a steering committee conducted by the state, according to what we could receive $27 by following the ODOT dictate. We're going to come up with additional dollars if we go that route. Totals 57 million. Do the math and then decide. Thank you.
Thanks, Pam. I want to add something along the line that Pam said. I found something that I thought was perfect for our situation. No offense to our staff, we love them, but Too often, city leaders see dollar signs in the way of state funding that allows them to do other infrastructure projects with a contingent that they also need to put in a road diet. But this is not the way it should be done. Using government funding to force road diets on already at or capacity streets, roads, and bridges is not smart nor safe. Not listening to all residents of the community to understand the impact on emergency services, emergency evacuations, commute times, road safety, and local business is not the way we want our society to work. I didn't write this. I wish I had, but I found it. Who's next?
Richard Horning.
Oh, Richard Horning.
My name is Richard Horning. My wife and I live for the past over 9 years just north of the middle school gym. We are frequent users of that intersection where Oregon Avenue takes off northward from 101. And it's, I can tell you, sometimes there's hardly anybody there, and most of the time there's a lot of people and a lot of heavy trucking. I noticed that in the 2 street views that Parametrics showed, they showed 1 passenger vehicle in each lane. It wasn't anything like the way you can find it with chip trucks after log trucks trying to use it. I have already submitted a comment in opposition to Initiative 3, the AKA the road diet, but I won't go into it because the commenters before me had done such a good job of opposing it. I'll simply say that I believe that the problems it would create would be greater for our community than the problems created by not achieving some ideal design that a consultant sitting up in Portland or wherever has come up with. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kay Harden.
Hi, my name is Kay Harden and I live on 7th Street Southwest. I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but my main concern right now is the safety of all of our town. We have the tsunami, where is everyone gonna go? Where's the emergency vehicles gonna go? It's just tragic to think that there will be no place for them to go. Even a policeman pulling over somebody that's driving too fast will end up in the bike lane. And it's just not safe. It really isn't safe. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I can't
get
see
his
the
name.
last name. Nick.
Nick.
Is there a Nick?
Nick, right back there.
Good evening to all. I'm a Bandon resident, 18 years in Bandon Heights. I'm also a retired firefighter of 30 years. My question is, has a study been done on response times and what cutting down to 1 lane is going to do to emergency responses? And the safety part of it. Not only for the public, but for the emergency response personnels. When you have to drive over into oncoming traffic, as I have done numerous times, it's not a good feeling. You don't know if one car is going to move one direction or one's going to move the other direction. So it'd be interesting to see what response times would do if we choose to go to 1 lane. I do not recommend this. We seem to have traffic flowing decently through town now. But my biggest thing is the response for emergency personnel and the safety of our community and the response times. If somebody's having a heart attack, 1 minute makes a huge difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
Rita.
Hi, my name is Rita Buck, and I live in town but own property in the Donut Hole. And my first question is, what's broken? I don't see that anything is really broken. I've lived here 35 years. Driving up and down 101, it's always worked great. I gotta wonder how many years the people that are trying to change this have lived here and put up with this. So it works in Port Orford because Port Orford only has 1,100 people and they have no traffic signals. Didn't work in Reedsport because they have 4,300 people. We have 3,300. I just don't see it working. I've been in Reno a lot. My husband lives there. And they did a road diet. They put in bike lanes. You never see a bike on them. Go figure. What I propose is the radar signs that show the speed limit above with the lit up below how fast you're actually going. We need 4 of those each direction. You know, because I've been passed by people doing 42 or more going through town. That's ridiculous. They just need to see that because people have said, when I see those signs, I slow down. Let's do 4 each way instead of 1. If you do this road diet, there's going to be road rage. I personally live on the west side of town. 101. I would be going through Old Town, and how many others of us will be doing that to go to the stoplight by the station? And yes, I agree, trying to get onto the highway at this, as it is now with 4 lanes and a turn lane. I see bikes on sidewalks. What's the point of having a bike lane if they're going to be on the sidewalk? The 30-mile-an-hour sign coming into town, heading south across from Ray's, that needs to be pushed back to where the 45-mile-an-hour sign is because it's just too close to that intersection of 42. And that is no doubt why that truck with the reels on it, and they went flying off. And I have an idea. If they want to see how this will work, cone off 2 lanes each way next summer when it's going to be busy and see how far that goes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rita. Next.
Is it Danielle Benjamin? Okay.
My apologies, Madam Mayor, City Council, Bandonites. I'm kind of ill-prepared.
Right.
But I am 100% against the road diet. What I am for is I would request that, like Rita had mentioned, that 30 miles per hour actually be pushed back outside of Bandon. The last guardrail, my house is just below, and that is where that truck went off. So there's also a big road hazard billboard there. So if that 30 miles an hour were there, then, maybe a little bit north of there, that would be really great. And the other thing, my other concern is that any funding that for the beach loop, I'm all for all of that. I've been on Riverside Drive for 10 years, and that is murder. They're talking at it that is a bike alternate. I don't know what alternate. Madeline, you live just up the hill from me, but they're hitting deer left and right. People in Bandon are driving 60 miles an hour on that. I mean, I can't even get out and check my mail. I'm at Cody Road right there. There's signs. And there's maybe not even a foot pedestrian path, and it would be to the west, nothing on the east side. Yes, that is the marsh. I mean, there's just not much if there's any funding. And I know that you couldn't do a solid all the way down, but just even a hit and miss. I bought a bike, and you know what? I'm afraid to drive. I don't even want to walk it because I've had to get off the road with my dog when there was no traffic because somebody out of nowhere is hauling bums. And it's not out of towners, folks. Brandon, slow down. Sorry, but please, thank you.
Thanks, Danielle.
Glenn Hamilton?
Thank you. Glenn Hamilton. I'm a local resident. I live south of town, but in the zip code. Good evening. I'm a business owner and operator of two small businesses. I don't have much time, I know, tonight, so I'll try to withhold opinion as much as possible and stick to verifiable points. I commute to each day and I get a sample of the traffic density on the way to work every day. And what I learned this evening while I waited to speak is that while there are many aspects of the 2025 TSB that I can definitely improve our community, I don't feel that the road diet portion needed to be even entertained for our consideration. And I also found that the sampling for the polling on this data seemed extremely small for the amount of people that we have. Was it 60 plus people in over three polls collectively? And that just seems a little bit vague regarding the community's participation in that. Let's start with the purpose of having a traffic system in place. Our goal, smooth and steady traffic flow, allowing for the ever-growing populace to get where they need or desire to be as safely as can possibly be facilitated. Due to the population growth, these systems must always strive to maximize efficiency and safety. Congestion is the enemy of order when it comes to traffic systems. Road diets by design create traffic congestion in areas like ours that regularly see a threshold of daily traffic measured by tens of thousands per day. They're intended for areas with less traffic than we experience. And I believe in this proposal, it becomes a literal bottleneck, physical bottleneck. I haven't seen any evidence yet that would increase commercial property development. Proof it would make public transit more accessible. Proof as of yet that it would enhance local businesses. And those are most of the reasons that people do road diets. If you've ever traveled south of town, you might get in a parade or a centipede worth of traffic. And that could start out as simple as something, a deer crossing the road 10 miles south of town, a couple cars back up, and then nobody gets back up to speed. Or it could be a road construction area in Curry County. And that kind of thing actually has residents all the way up into Bandon. So those traffic conglomerations sometimes don't break up until they reach our two-lane system. If you've ever been stuck behind somebody going 45 in a 55 and you hit a passing lane and all of a sudden they're Mario Andretti.
Right.
That's driver entitlement. And that's going to be happening with a road diet. However, people aren't going to have the alternative to get in the other lane. I do have also share massive consideration with people regarding the emergency systems. And I appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim Urabish. Retired man.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jimmy. With two of you. But my problem is I'm good with the transportation plan, all that. I feel that people who are living in a donut hole need to pay road impact taxes for us to pay for a road that goes through the donut hole. So they need to get into the city. Number two, the road diets does not work. They have closed out all the passing lanes all the way south of Port Orford, all the way to Reedsport for anybody to pass a camper.
Right.
So then they get to towns like us, Reedsport, Port Orford, everybody wants to go around. I don't blame them. But on the other hand, you took that down road. And then you talk about the speed limit on Seabird to 30, I remember it was 55. So how many accidents do we literally have? Pedestrian, bicycle, whatever, on Seabird? Or is it just people are mad because somebody's going by fast? I mean, I hear about the complaints for turkeys on Seabird. Come on, you know? My issue is the road diet does not work because when somebody was parked in front of the cheese factory before they took the parking away,
and seen somebody get hit by a log truck
Yep.
trying to get into their car. They took away the parking.
Yep.
I'm good with that. That makes sense. I do not believe a road diet makes sense. I think it's gonna cause more issues, more problems for the police. And that's that, you know? And as far as who's gonna pay for the maintenance of the greenways? Who's doing it? Cause us as citizens, we're not gonna go out there and do it. Our utilities are already taxed beyond their capabilities. I mean, there's just not enough people to do all these little jobs, like rounding up turkeys. It's just not gonna happen, you know? And that's all I'm gonna say. I've lived here my whole life. So there we are. Thank you very much.
I think most of you probably know that today the Oregon legislature in a special session approved the $4.3 billion transportation tax to bail out ODOT, and that's about over a 10-year period. It was right down the aisle. There was one Republican from Tillamook switched, but there was 4.3 billions, which will increase almost every tax. And the gas tax is going up 6%, 6 cents. So at least ODOT, well, I guess they won't be closing down. Next.
No, excuse me. We have nobody else in the audience. Is there anybody on Zoom that would like to speak? Please raise your hand by using the computer con.
Wait, he wants to. Hey, let him speak.
I know, but hold on. I want to make sure. Okay, there's nobody on Zoom. So, Mr. Mike, do you want to go now?
Sure. Madam Mayor, council staff, thanks for the time. 3 items. We've been fortunate to have
Name and where?
Mike Malloy, 820 Seabird Drive, Southwest. 3 items. I want to thank the staff for putting together all the meetings. It's been helpful. Being a Seabird soldier, I just want to put a plug in. Our last meeting had a lot of short-term solutions, and I would just ask all of you to stay in there for the long-term solutions. I've heard, meaning real sidewalks and stuff. You know, I've heard a lot of people say newcomers type of thing. I think it's just improvement. I had a chief that I used to work for that said, it's okay to go wrong. It's not okay to stay wrong. We have children, grandchildren, older people, of which I'm becoming one quickly. It's just nice to have sidewalks. It's nice to have places where you don't have to move off when a car is coming. I think to mellow things out a bit, I think that's maybe what we're looking for is improvements, and I believe you're working towards that. And I believe, well, many of us appreciate it, and we all come in griping. So yeah, Seabird sidewalks and stuff like that would be great. And then another item is I personally don't want to see the reduction in lanes, but I do believe we're between a rock and a hard place because we need funding. Therefore, I just request that y'all go back and negotiate harder for some money without what I consider would be hampering the downtown area. And then finally, in the paperwork, it's mentioned developer-supported roadway improvements. And I want to say I'm a developer. My housing tract that I'm building is modeled after a really nice housing tract. And I just spent millions of dollars putting in sidewalks, streets, and infrastructure. And I'm going to continue to put those millions in. We are held to a pretty good standard now for sidewalks, and I appreciate that. We have not balked at one thing that we've been asked to do because we want the city, that's why I came here. It's nice. We want to keep it that way. I'm here bringing that subject up to say to you, you're not going to get developers developing if we make it too expensive.
That's right.
I'm doing it out of pocket. We're not a big city developer. We need housing. We're doing ours in a phased approach, thanks to the planning department working with us. And if we start getting more fees thrown at us, you're going to continue to have a field, and we're not going to have housing. And whether we like it or not, people are coming here.
They definitely are.
And most of us that come here love it. and want to keep it a really beautiful city. I don't want to say, I've got mine, stay out. I want to see what development is done responsibly. But like I say, personally, if I start getting fees thrown on me, we're not going to get 72 more homes.
Thanks, Mike. Now, has everybody spoken that wants to?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, wait a minute. Are you from the state? Okay, maybe we could hear. The state man wants to speak. ODOT. Come up to the front.
Mr. State Man.
Mayor and council, appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight and appreciate having been a city councilor in another Oregon city here. Appreciate the difficulties that you face. There's been a lot of good testimony. And, you know, certainly as a state, you know, we're the Oregon Department of Transportation. We used to be the Oregon Highway Department back when 101 was built. And that's really what we paid attention to was highways, pay attention to the roads. And we're just as concerned, I know, as you all are with the safety of some of our most vulnerable citizens as well. And so we try to be a transportation agency and we try to look for multimodal improvements. So that means the highway. That means sidewalks, that means bike lanes, that means transit, those ways that people move and commerce moves through our communities and through our state and how we do that. And I've heard some good comments today about emergency services. So there's certainly some more details probably that can be shared with a lot of things, but you know, we're trying to find a way to how do we retrofit, how do we add bike lanes and make a safer pedestrian system. It's not even fun to walk on a sidewalk when you have trucks whizzing by you in close proximity. And so we're trying to, you know, find a solution to that, and it's not easy to do. And you've heard a couple of laws mentioned, the bike bill. The bike bill is, think of it as the implementation piece. So if we were to, and the mayor was absolutely correct, if we were to do a full depth reconstruction, if we were to rebuild that base and all of that, or if we were to widen the highway, we would be required to implement the bike bill at that time. But the transportation planning rule, and now think of this one as in its name, planning, requires that we plan for multimodal facilities on our highways and that has to be on our TSPs and things like that. And so when we had a workshop a little while ago, we talked about that. The mayor and Councilor Seymour asked some questions about that. ODOT, would you just go ahead and implement this? Would you go ahead and just do this? Are you going to do this on your own? And the quick answer to that is no. That we would seek partnership with the city of Bandon to move forward with that. And so what we're seeking tonight is to plan for a multimodal system. And so not all of the projects in your plan will be implemented. We're certainly seeking funding. We're seeking approval. We have to seek grants. There's a lot of things that potentially prevent these things from moving forward. But this is how we kind of plan and we look forward to doing these things. And so just like you mentioned, some of the evacuation, some of those kind of things, I think those are some questions that can be answered. And we're not planning on rebuilding the highway. And we're certainly not going to widen the highway. That would certainly wipe out a number of businesses, doesn't make a lot of sense. We wouldn't want to plan on widening the highway because now we're going to be, when we have property developers coming to talk to us, we're going to be saying, well, we need some additional property because, you know, it's going to be widened. So we don't want to be in that situation. We don't want to put our businesses in situations in that type of instance where, you know, if their building was destroyed by in some manner and they have to rebuild, the need for additional right-of-way to widen wouldn't make sense, right? So we're trying to figure out how do we constrain it. And, you know, ODOT often gets accused of overbuilding projects, cost overruns. This planning is where we constrain those types of projects. This is where it begins, is in planning, where we try to do something that's cost effective. Now, the earliest opportunity that we foresee being able to do something in partnership with the city is probably in about 10 years when we're going to do a pavement overlay. Could we do it sooner? Possibly. But ideally, probably in that time frame, which is in that planning horizon. So we're here to plan that, not to implement. So we're not approving an implementation. And there were lots of good questions that would go toward implementation. And so what we're proposing, and we talked to the city about the IGA, draft IGA has been developed, and suggested that even be made a condition of approval in addition to that with the TSP, so that we can plan something that we can look at. Now, the idea is we're not even going to implement a pilot without your approval. So it is the city council and only the city council that can say that we're going to do a pilot. And if you say no, then we're not going to do a pilot, and we're gonna keep it the way it is. And if you say yes, then we will restripe it, and we will present you a bunch of information, obviously, first, and answer some of these questions that are out there, so that we can have the detail, because it's going to involve some signal reconfigurations. It's going to involve some signal coordination to make sure that traffic flows better. Things have to adjust. There'll be some left turn lanes that will, besides just a left turn lane, two-way center left turn lane, there'll be some left turn lanes that will be able to be there, for example, at Fillmore Street. So there are some improvements there, but we'll be able to present that to you, and you can decide if that is something you want to pursue. And if you don't, that's okay. But if you do, we will implement that. We will test it for a year. We will look at it. We will perhaps suggest some adjustments to that, modifications, and we will present that data. There'll probably also be an open house where we will gather some public input and things like that. So there'll be some opportunities. It'll be back in a public setting. We would present that information to you and say, hey, this is what it found. You guys will have lived it for a year. And then you can decide, yeah, we want to keep it, or no, when you repave the highway, please put the striping back the way it was. And so you've got two opportunities. You are the only ones, not ODOT, you are the only ones that can decide whether we move forward. And you get two opportunities to do that, both if you want to do a pilot, and if you do a pilot, then you've got a second opportunity to decide how it's going to permanently be striped, not ODOT. So again, we are planning, not implementing, which perhaps gives you a way forward with approving your TSP, keeping within the transportation planning rule, and being consistent with that, and being eligible for that while maintaining 100% of the capability to whether you want to move forward or not.
I have a question. Why did ODOT build out the corners in Reedsport to half a lane so they could never have their configuration back to the way it was?
I am going to bring up Chris Hunter for that one, because he's the construction area manager for that.
That's a whole travesty out there. No.
So, Chris Hunter, ODOT, back to Reedsport, there's a question about the configuration up there. We worked with the city of Reedsport because.
No. I'm just asking a specific question about why did you build the corners out to half of the first lane so they could not have their road back to the way it was?
We built out curb extensions, bulb outs on a lot of the sidewalk corners for ADA, pedestrian safety, crossing, which was something the city had asked for and wanted as part of that project. We originally did a single lane each direction. You're correct, it did not work. We actually went back to a modified. It's not back to the way it was.
No, it can never go back.
We went into, well, it can always go back. You
No,
always
again,
get those out.
you have to remove those corners then, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But that can be done.
Okay.
But in working with the city, we elected to come back with a 2-lane southbound, 1-lane northbound, a lot of signal reconfiguration, signal synchronization to make sure that works. Currently, we've still got bike and ped safety improvements within that community that the city was looking for. and I'll take some ownership, we did mess up initially with some of our traffic projections because of the way those high busy event festivals that they have in that area, it backs up whether you had those lanes or not. We still have some of that. We're never getting away from that regardless of what you do. But it is working well right now. The city likes it. Communities at least provided some good feedback, but we've made adjustments there to accommodate those changes. What Mike's talking about here, again, is a pilot. We didn't do a pilot up there. We did a pilot in Port Orford. And we do that ahead of a paving project. And to someone's comment, we do that ourselves. We'll come out, remove striping, put down temporary striping. We let the traffic run on that for roughly a year. We'll do an evaluation. We'll provide information. We'll have open houses, get input from the community, get input from city. And then we're able to reevaluate it. Do you like it or not like it? Do you want it? Some of it, not all of it. We have that opportunity, but like Mike says, that's all per the direction of the city council.
Yeah.
Whether we even do the pilot or whether we even do a restriping project,
Yes.
even if we pave.
I think we understand that. I just, I still don't know why that those corners were built out to that, the half of the first lane. We have ADA corners that ODOT put in, and they're not out to half of the first lane. But you did that in Reedsport, and you said that's the way it had to be?
Some of that's due to, depending on the area you're talking about, there's
Right at the
parking.
high school as you come north into town.
So there's parking in some of those areas, and we try to get the pedestrians out far enough beyond the parked cars so they can see traffic and traffic can see them. Part of the problem that we have, here in Bandon, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, when you have two lanes, there might be that first car that's going to stop for a pedestrian, but that second car doesn't know why that first car stopped.
Yeah, we understand.
And as part of this was a TGM grant that the city had applied for. Part of that grant asked us to look at safety and pedestrian improvements, bike improvements on US 101. And that's why we looked at some of those options as well. And again, these don't have to be implemented without the direction of city council. There's no requirement for implementation, which is why the old 2000 plan has lots of projects that have never been done.
Right.
It's something to work towards, certainly,
25
but
years
it
later.
doesn't mean you're actually ever going to get there. One, you got to have funding.
I will say that in the 2000 plan, one of the things that was recommended was a Fillmore traffic light. The city paid for the Fillmore traffic light using urban renewal dollars.
Correct.
We wouldn't have that now, I'm pretty sure, if the state had had to pay for it, which is sad. Because we have a serious problem on Seabird.
Yes.
And there's, first we were told by the state that they'd have to have a bridge over Johnson Creek. And in fact, the survey here from 2000 says the most dangerous road part of Bandon is from 13th to Johnson Creek, which is the dip past
Yep, yep.
Seabird. And I don't know that there's been one single enhancement in 25 years.
Nothing.
It's just as dangerous, and while we're on the subject, we had a meeting here with Reedsport about a
I was
week
just
ago.
gonna bring that up.
And after the meeting, the woman, I didn't know who she was. She was on the Reedsport City Council. She just came over and she just got right in my face. Do not do the road diet. I mean, she was just about as.
And we have heard from several counselors, so you
Yeah,
say that
and the mayor.
Reedsport is happy with the way it is. They are not.
I don't think they are.
At least their governor and body is.
It
not.
wasn't as bad as it was before, so I guess they can,
Oh, it's still as bad in the summertime, trust me.
Quick question. Do you guys have a plan implemented for outside of city limits, or does the county have to do something similar? Because outside of city limits, the speed limit's 55 and there is no sidewalk and there's only one lane of traffic going both directions for bikes.
Right, so that was one of the comments earlier, talked about passing opportunities before and after the city. And so we are in that process right now, actually, of a study looking at extending or building new passing lanes outside of the city so that those opportunities exist there inside the city.
Lee, north, 6 miles is the closest passing lane, and then south is 7 miles. I looked it up today.
Yep.
But what about the bike lane in particular?
Bike lanes are typically done in urban areas, and then in rural areas, they're typically just the shoulders. Sometimes they're wide enough and sometimes they're not. And even in urban areas, you know, we have a tough time. You know, Coos Bay, North Bend, there are no bike lanes. In fact, the Oregon Coast Bike Route doesn't even go through Coos Bay and North Bend. At least not down 101, because there's just no place for it. That's another place that we're gonna look at that, but volumes are so high that you really can't do a road diet. And so we're probably looking at using part of the local system or doing something, being able to reroute bikes and stuff so that they can get through, just find a way through, non-congested roadways they can do it in a safer manner for those that are so daring.
But we're not able to do an alternative route of a bike lane. It has to be on the 101.
We already have one approved by the state.
Yeah.
Yes, I know, but approved by them.
We have an alternate
I'm
bike
asking.
route.
In this case, the analysis shows that bike lanes can be safely put on 101. The volume on traffic is well below what a road diet will support. They are almost as high a capacity as a 4-lane highway. But it does require some signal coordination, some signal modification to make that work.
I know the first time that this was presented, I don't know, 19 or 18. One of the things that was said was that the state would put passing lanes close to town, outside of town. And that was one of the things that made it palatable back then, because we were all going, nah, I don't think, I was on the planning commission then, and we're going, nah, I don't think so. And then we talked about passing lanes, and all of a sudden it was more feasible, because then you don't have the people trying to pass through town or getting angry through town. With passing lanes within a mile of the town, I think that this thing might be feasible, but the way it is right now, no way.
Yeah, I would agree with you that, we can't just eliminate travel lanes inside of a city and expect that, you know, that was kind of where people were passing. That's not where you want people passing, because they're now trying to hurry up and get around that RV they've been following, or that big truck. And you have more vulnerable users in an urban area just trying to cross the street or do their, you know, everyday travel through the city. So
The lighted crosswalk at 9th, flashing light has been a godsend.
Right.
Because the accidents that you're talking about, where one pulls up here and the other doesn't see, that flashing light I think has been.
It's really.
And I don't know,
clear.
I think we paid for part of that.
Yes, we did.
About $85,000.
I think it was 50 grand.
50,000, okay.
And that's called an enhanced crosswalk, and in fact, your TSP calls for a few more of those.
And then we don't understand, nobody can figure out what that one down there is. Nobody uses it. It's dangerous because it's basically on a curve.
Yep.
And you see the screech marks of people who
Chicago.
somebody is starting to cross it.
Right here by Freedom Graphics, right down from City
Foot of the
Hall.
hill. I don't know
I
how
have no
that.
idea why ODOT even
I don't,
came up with
it
that
took
one.
years to get this one, years and years, and a fatal accident to get that one. And all of a sudden, we get that one, and the next thing you know, we got one down here.
Hey, Mary, that was in conjunction with part of that land back there behind Freedom Graphics. They're gonna turn it into a parking lot.
True.
But we didn't have the money to pave it at the time.
Right.
But when they were doing some work out
So
there,
they went ahead and put that in.
well, we asked them if they could do that at
Did
that
we pay
time.
for part of that?
It was a request from the city is when we
guess
were
it was
doing
a
the ADA
former city manager.
upgrades, that there was a request from the city to put in an enhanced crossing at that
Just seems
location because of the parking lot. And so we did accommodate that, and that one, we could justify some costs, so it didn't cost the city any additional money. We paid for that installation.
I have never seen anybody use it, and I drive 101 every
I
day.
never have either.
You did? You are brave.
You know, while you're here, the main thing that we've been told by the state is that safety. For a while, there were statements in there about all the accidents in Bandon.
Yeah.
Well, then we started saying, all right, I said, send me the documentation. I want to know what all these accidents are. Well, it appears that there were 2 fatals. One was a motorcycle here, and then in the last 10 years, a motorcyclist that weaving in and out of traffic, somebody stopped and he slammed on the brakes and his wife or girlfriend went over and killed herself or died. But the big thing is what we have noticed lately, and this is an email that I sent to my friend in the state. What I want, and I can't seem to find online, is the number of fatalities that have occurred between Bandon, North City Limits, and Coos Bay in the last 5 years. We have had fatal after a fatal, and then I said, I want the same information for Bandon City Limits. If ODOT representatives, all good guys, I'm trying to get information from them, want to tell us they are required by a misguided legislature to implement new bike and ped path rules, then fine, but do not make it seem like it will be safer when most of the accidents have occurred on the ODOT design section of highway outside the city limits. You know, this is not a safety issue here. It's simply not a safety issue.
And I was, oh, go ahead.
Got an answer,
Well,
by the way.
No, they don't, they don't have the, I don't think they have the.
They don't have the
We've
documentation.
got it.
we have data. I'll
2022.
give you my card. You can send me your questions. We'll get you some.
Okay, and so you've got up through 24?
I don't think we're at 24 yet.
Oh, and it's almost 25 is almost over and you don't have 24 data.
We should be getting it soon, but it does lag a year because of verifications. I
Well,
can't
maybe
tell you all the reasons.
0.6 billion, you'll have enough to hire another person or something.
Well, that's not approved yet. In fact, I think legislature just postponed it for, I don't know how long, couple more weeks.
What's not approved?
The budget bill that's been proposed.
I mean, the tax bill they
The
just,
4 points.
Yes,
Well, it was approved today by the Senate.
that's what it said.
They postponed it.
they
till
postponed
September
it till September 17th.
So they haven't voted on it.
No,
Well, they said they had the votes because the governor didn't.
they did say they had the votes, but it hasn't been voted on.
Come to the session.
Okay, so
Back to this. And that's part of what the city's got to figure out too, is what are your priorities? Again, part of this, we were asked to look at safety aspects of US 101, accommodating all modes. And that's what we've done. I've heard lots of comments about people speeding through, which isn't good, wanting to slow traffic down. You can't have both, I guess. And so that's where the city needs to make sure that they understand where their priorities are. Look at that, what do you want? When Parametrics was here doing open houses or even online, in person, all we can get is the comments that we receive. That's what's being shared. We can't force people to provide comments, and so we can only work with the input that we receive from the community. And that's what we base some of the decisions on, some of the options on, and that's how we end up with where we are.
That first meeting that you had out at the barn, Parametrics was conducting
Yep.
it. They had 4 options. Do nothing was not one of them. And finally I said, I think Mr. Guevara is gone. Anyway, I said, isn't the 5th option to do nothing? Well, yes, but by that time they'd already pitched the 4. You had,
pitching the road diet.
yeah,
the whole
pitching the
meeting.
road diet. We didn't have an option to say none of the above.
To meet the state requirements, there really isn't a no build option, in order to meet the bike bill requirements and some of the other.
Well, but
Or the transportation planning rule.
it's true, if you're going to do certain things to the highway, if you're doing nothing, it does not kick in the bike bill. I mean, I've read that over and over again. And
This is a planning document, and that's what Mike's trying to get at, is it's a way to plan to the future, and the planning documents require us to look at all modes, and that's why it's there.
The OAR requires us to look at that as part of a TSP, and that's why we're trying to find that kind of compromise and sort of this is sort of the planned improvement, and have given you the 100% of the ability to say whether it moves forward or not. You're gonna have to decide.
That's why when with Tori, we came up with the idea of the IGA, because there's concern that ODOT's just gonna come in and do this regardless.
Right.
We're not
There's
going
not a
to.
lot of trust in this town for ODOT, trust me.
One IGA.
And that's fine,
And
which is
conditions if you so choose.
right, and that's why we wanted to put it into writing, because one, we don't want to be adversarial to any of our communities. We want to work with our communities. We want to be good partners. And that's a way to codify it that, hey, we're not going to do anything unless city council approves it as far as the road diet, even the pilot. We're not going to do anything unless city council and ODOT agree, yep, let's give this a shot.
How it
Let's
could be
move forward.
But see, we thought that it was only going to be for a year. That's what we were.
The pilot we talked about for a year.
The pilot would be not to exceed 2 years. This is in the IGA agreement, 2 years.
Well,
Right. And the reason for that, Mayor, is You know, so we want to have it run through all the different seasons. We want to be able to see how it operates for a year.
Yeah.
We're going to compile some data and bring that back to you. That'll happen probably pretty quickly within the next month or two after that's over. And share that with you so that you guys can make a decision on whether to move forward or not.
And then it's.
But if you so choose, if you say, hey, we want to make this permanent, now we've got to design that into a
Right.
project and get it bid.
Well, I don't,
And so there's a little, it may not be 2 years, but it's going to be sometime.
Part of the IGA says reducing one or more travel lanes.
Right.
One or more, but we've never talked about reducing any, the worst case.
Well, that's a change we can make to the IGA to clarify that, because it's one. More.
And I would recommend nobody sign that right now because
Oh, don't worry about
It's
that.
a draft.
About that.
that is strictly a draft. And
Okay.
why it says one or more lanes, because when you look at a road diet, you're actually removing one lane in each direction. That's more than one lane. Some areas we are only removing one lane. But we've also, in a more recent draft that hasn't been shared yet, as we've been going through and trying to clean up that language and make it more understandable, I think we've better referenced the TSP, so let the TSP identify that alternative rather than us trying to restate it within the IGA. And so there's some other things that we've modified there to share with Tori. I don't believe we've shared the latest yet, but that is in no way ready to be signed. But that's the direction we want to go if council approves it.
Okay.
And then we can finish and modify that agreement so you guys are satisfied that we're not going to move forward without city council approval.
And so if you approve it and add that condition of approval, it makes that a little clear in terms of that for us.
Okay, let's.
Right, and you can do a condition of approval that we enter
We're
into
gonna
the
get to the
IGA.
point here where
We got to close the hearing.
we're gonna close the hearing, but that way, if we have questions, if you're still here, then we can ask them.
Thank
But
you.
I think we need to close the hearing so the council can debate.
Do you have language for that? Do you have language to close the hearing on your thingy?
I don't know. The hearing's closed. There wasn't any specific language.
Okay. I have something to
I have
say.
a million.
You need to state the time.
I'm here.
8:55.
We ready, June? Okay. There's something that no one has said anything about in written testimony here tonight, and I think it needs to be said. As everyone in town knows, I'm an animal lover. I can't imagine someone down off of Seabird having an animal emergency, trying to get to our vet's office in the northbound lanes with a road diet, even getting from Seabird to 11th to take the shortcut that the locals are going to take to get into the vet's office. And I cannot imagine anyone north of town coming in with the road diet, trying to turn left into the vet's office. It's impossible. I just don't see it. That's one of my opinions. Got a lot more. Okay. It's our turn to talk, everybody. Archie, look at his face.
It's our turn to talk.
yeah, so can we take that part off of there about the road
Which-
diet?
Which part, Chris?
The part about the road diet. Can we just take that off there, send it up to DLCD and see if they approve it?
Well, I have a suggestion.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to.
Well, you never know until you try.
What?
She said
No.
she didn't think they're going to, so you never know until you
Well,
try.
I have a suggestion. If the council wants to vote, I would propose that, of course, I'm fundamentally opposed to the reconfiguration of Highway 101. I think that is a given in this room and in the community as currently proposed under alternate number 3, and recommend alternate number 1 instead. That's a suggestion.
I'm all for that too. I was just wondering if we could just float it through first without having to go to any of that trouble.
But one isn't even feasible, is it?
It doesn't
So
matter.
it doesn't matter.
It's
Part of
an
the
option.
plan.
It is still an option.
Yep.
It was
in our
one
plan.
that was
Option
given
to
to
plan.
us. It was presented to us and then
Yes.
one day at a meeting with the state
And
and
it
the
is
city,
in our final plan.
Chris
Oh.
mentioned that
Yep.
maybe we should approve that because it's the full build out. No.
It's never gonna happen.
No, and it's never going to happen because then they would have to get right away or easements on both sides for the bike path. So it's not going to happen. With their budget, I don't know how they can really do much of anything. But this was one of the motions that was presented to us So we're not doing the road, and it will never, in my lifetime, well, we know how old as I am. But,
Not gonna be in mine either.
most people, this life.
I have, Madam, can I for a second? So as your guys are speaking and deliberating about this, if you can, the rules and have the mayor address you first so that it's easier for me to take minutes and for the
Okay.
recording.
Yes,
Instead
ma'am.
of everybody just talking at once, it's very hard.
We're good
Okay.
at that.
Thank
Madam
you.
Mayor, I have something to say. I would also like to propose that the final TSP, page number ES5, that the second paragraph above the bottom where it says, ways to recommendation for local funding, that we strike permanent tax rate. Now, should that be a separate motion and a vote, Shayla?
Shayla?
Yes.
Oh.
So we could do that really fast if we wanted to. Okay, anybody have discussion on that?
Well, just why do we need to remove it if it's not possible?
Exact.
Doesn't
Because it
exist,
shouldn't be in there.
Shouldn't be in there.
It's null and void then. I mean, you
No.
can leave it in there and it still won't happen.
Not necessarily. It's just not right.
I don't know that it really matters that much, but,
I know, but I'm picky.
all right, so you're making a motion
Yes.
to remove
Second.
Strike.
the permanent tax, and who was, Archie, you said, oh.
You
correct.
don't have it in your documents. It's on the line, online for the final TSP. It's, page number ES5.
It's been moved by Madeline and seconded by Chris that we strike the term permanent property tax rate as a potential funder for any of our projects. All in favor, please raise their hand. Okay, so what do we got? 1, 2,
3.
3. All right, I'll break the tie. Might not be the first one. All right, we will do that. Okay, now let's talk about, we've got several options.
Well, we have alternatives in our TSP. We have 4.
And originally, I think we had 6.
Yes, we did.
But as
But we
soon as
got rid
we-
of 2 of
As
them.
soon as we pretended, showed interest in them, suddenly they disappeared. I don't
That's
know
what
what
they
that was
do.
all about. But guess they changed their mind.
That's what they do.
So far, Chris thinks we should not put anything about the TSP, and you think we should do alternative 1?
Well, yeah, I mean, we need a TSP. Do
Yeah.
we all agree on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
As far as dangling money and funding and all that, well, that could be and it couldn't be. So I'm just suggesting, so we can have a TSP in place,
Mhm.
that we do it with recommending alternate number 1. If this agreement, I mean, we're here to discuss it.
Yeah.
So everybody talk if you want to.
I like that option. I think if we were to have to do one of these alternates, that's probably the best option. It seems, clearly nobody wants to take away any lanes of the highway.
Exactly.
With that said, also make sure we have the stipulation of this intergovernmental agreement.
Well, that's not even completed because I
See,
think
they won't-
ODOT just said that they have revisions. to
They
the
won't
city,
sign it.
So they can't.
I don't believe they'll sign it unless we agree to alternate 3 and remove one
Option
lane of
3,
traffic.
yeah.
Has that been stated?
I haven't.
Madam Mayor?
Says it
Didn't
in
hear that.
here.
Where? Oh, there. Every time you talk, I look that.
I
way.
can't tell. I know your direction.
Go ahead.
I actually, when it first came up, and I talked to the gentleman there about, they were talking about passing lanes outside of town. And
But that has nothing to do with the city.
just a minute.
Okay.
And I was totally against this whole thing. But then I started, over about a period of about 3 months, I went and I sat at intersections and I watched things go on. And I actually think it could work, but we would need a passing lane on either end of town so that people weren't trying to rush through town and get by people. So I would propose we approve 3.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, I have a question.
Yes.
What time of the year did you go and sit these corners? Is it any time during the summertime?
Actually, it was over about a 6-month period.
Okay.
And
Talking May to October or?
No.
Okay.
No.
Because that's,
It was summertime and
Okay.
fall.
because I there's no way. I mean, whether you got a passing lane north or south, you've
Doesn't
still
matter.
got a volume of traffic coming
Right.
through. I mean, tons of cars. And if all of a sudden you got a row of 50 cars coming through in 2 lanes, you shove that into one.
It's not as many as I thought when I started counting and looking.
What
And
time were you there?
I've been there many times on many days over about a 6-month period.
Well, I've been out like at noon. I've been out at 3, 4:30. It's a mess. It doesn't usually let up until about 7 o'clock at night.
Mm-hmm. And I can't imagine what it's going to do to our main attraction for tourists in this town, and that is Old Town. I can't imagine someone in the summertime coming north, wanting to go to Old Town and being in bumper to bumper traffic since way south of town. And they're thinking, well, why do we want to stop? Let's just keep going to get out of this mess.
Exactly what this says.
That's what I worry about.
Exactly. Well, a couple of years ago, ODOT had a meeting over in North Bend, and I was the only person from Bandon who attended, but it was very, very interesting. And one of the things that I brought up was the road diet. And after the meeting, a state policeman, I have his card, he came up to me and he said, the road diet, what you're going to do is it's going to be so congested that people are going into road rage. And as soon as they get out onto the highway, that's where your accidents are going to occur.
Yep.
And he told me he would be more than willing to come and talk, but I didn't think I wanted to put him through it, but that is exactly what he said. He said, it's very dangerous. The congestion and the road rage. At least going through town, they're not mostly in a rage because they may be passing. We really haven't had that many accidents.
No.
What I would suggest, since the last TSP that we did in 2000, we redid it or revisited it, I think, 10 years later. So let's say 10 years from now, we will revisit it. And if everything's changed, if we have a huge demand, there'll be a different, I know I won't be here, but there'll maybe be a different council, maybe these two here.
There'll
some of
definitely
will
be a
here,
different council.
And they can update the TSP at the time. I just don't think with the community, the support isn't there. And I don't think with the majority of the
Well,
council, the support's there either.
So you're proposing we don't try to pass a TSP at all, Mary?
No, but then we will upgrade it.
No.
Then we will, 10 years from now, then we can upgrade
but
it.
that
'Cause
would
we don't
be-
want to wait for another 20 years.
That would be up to the council 10 years from now if they want to revisit it or not.
And they can, because they did revisit, I think, a couple of times. Because why, I'm curious, since we already had an approved plan, what were we doing in 2018 or 19 when this whole issue came up before us, exactly play by play of what we went through? What were we doing then? Because we weren't approving a TSP. What were we doing? Anybody know?
I do.
Yeah.
I remember the whole thing. They came in, they said, we got a bunch of money. We want to do this to your town.
Ah, that's right.
And I said, well, we don't want that.
That was
How
the
about putting in-
gist of it.
Yeah, how about putting in the crosswalk? Well, we'll get to that in 3 years.
Yeah.
But the city itself
No.
never updated the TSP, right?
We already had an updated TSP.
No, we already had a
It wasn't-
TSP.
Well, there may have been a TSP, but like any plans, they have to be updated in order to receive new grant funding. You
We're not
have to
talking
update
about
the
that.
plan.
No, this
So-
wasn't
Talking
that.
about when we visited it in 2018, when
Right.
ODOT came to us.
Right.
And I remember now exactly what Chris
Yeah.
said. The whole gist of the 2-hour meeting was they had extra money and they wanted to spend it. They wanted to come to Bandon and put a road diet in.
And this is the current TSP right here, and it's from February 2010, so it was a revision.
Well, all right, but
Yeah.
the one that we're talking
2010
about is
was
25
revised.
years ago was the 2000 one.
Yeah, and this
Not the
is that,
revision.
but this is the revision
Yeah, and
of
we can do
the,
that in.
well, the
10
refinement, they
years.
call it, Bandon
Yeah.
Transportation Refinement Plan.
Right,
Right.
right.
So 10 years from now, then there could be.
Then they can
refinement.
revisit it if they want to.
So I see in here what
This won't be-
planning commission is recommending, what ODOT is recommending, what is staff recommending?
Yes,
Same thing.
but but please, what's the community recommending?
We heard the community. I heard everybody and I
hope
agree
so.
with.
Yeah,
most
city
of that.
staff is referring to the city council, the planning commission's recommendation.
Okay.
Staff would also support approval of the TSP, subject to any further conditions, or requirements imposed by the city council.
And that's probably where we're headed.
Yep. Okay, are we ready for me to make a motion? or-
Yes.
Yeah,
Ready?
100%, we have to have this intergovernmental agreement,
Yes.
right? How do we guarantee that?
Well, there is no guarantees.
The agreement that you referenced was really intended to allay the council's concerns regarding alternative 3
But-
and the idea that moving forward, it would require city council approval prior to any of the components of the reconfiguration to be implemented. So if you're proposing alternative one in lieu of alternative three, I would inquire with ODOT to see whether or not that would be viable.
Well,
It
And if
Doesn't matter
so,
if it's viable.
need.
you wouldn't need, you wouldn't need it.
Yeah.
You wouldn't need an IGA because it's a.
That's
bill.
what I was
No way they're
leaning
ever gonna.
towards that if
We would
Damn.
still
Not
want, I would still
viable.
want the IGA,
if
right?
it's not a viable
No.
project, then you probably don't need the IGA.
You don't need it.
Because it won't be approved.
Right.
Because we're taking care of it by not allowing any lane reconfiguration. And the
But
reason.
we can't guarantee that. If we vote alternate one, and then they do decide to do alternate one, and we don't have this intergovernmental agreement, there's nothing we could do.
I know, but
Alternative one is just a full build out. They're gonna have to buy private property. That's,
But you're assuming that they're not gonna buy private property.
well, we're.
They haven't got the money for that.
they have $1 billion to spend on Bandon.
Well, they,
Not gonna have a road diet. Oh, I know,
No.
we're supposed to talk.
No.
not supposed to-
Sorry.
to me.
I still think we need to try to have this
all over the place.
this intergovernmental agreement, I think
Just,
is necessary, no matter what.
It's all right, if they'll sign it, if we, with our motion here, if this motion passes.
yeah, if they want to give it to
It's
us.
added into their, they'll sign it, but they're never going to
Mm-mm.
condemn buildings along Highway 101.
No.
They couldn't afford to help us, with a Fillmore traffic light.
Just because I'm curious, what is the probability, feasibility, or what is wrong with alternative four?
That's what I called about that today.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to figure out, it wasn't clear what
I could answer that. So the alternate four, it only has the bike lane on one side.
Right.
However, the bike lane, the multi-directional bike lane has to be 10 feet wide
Mhm.
and it has to be 5 feet away from traffic.
Right,
So it would need to be 15 feet.
Right.
Which would be the same width as.
But it would
alternate
still
one.
keep the traffic configuration the way.
But it would still be the same width, the total width of alternate one. So you would still have to,
You still have to condemn.
yeah, and it's not quite as good of a method as alternate one.
See, I
So it really just doesn't make sense.
right.
doesn't.
Thank you.
Okay,
Let's make a motion.
I make a motion to adopt the TSP.
No. You gotta get the alternate in.
Yeah,
And then you
yeah.
gotta vote for that.
Okay, wait a minute, hang on, okay, make a motion. Wait a minute.
No, I think we can with,
Oh, I got it. Okay.
I believe.
Make a motion to,
Don't you have to go to first reading?
oh, yeah, we probably
No.
should. Do we?
No,
If you're making a selection in regards to how you want the TSP to be drafted, then you would make a motion to amend the TSP with whichever alternate you wanted.
that's what we're doing.
and Send that to a first reading.
Gotcha. Thank you,
Okay.
Sheila.
All right, make a motion to amend the TSP and include or recommend alternate number 1 instead of alternate number 3. Does that make sense, Shayla?
Yes.
Okay.
Do I hear
Anybody want a second?
Second.
I'll second.
All right, it's been made by Madeline, seconded by Chris and Archie. All in favor, raise their hand. Wait, I don't vote. I only vote in the case of a tie. Only in the case of a tie.
Mary.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't get to vote. 1,
Okay.
2, 3, 4. All right.
So with that being said,
Sorry. Voted no.
Josh and Bear.
Josh and Bear. Okay, now
So
what?
we don't do anything. Shayla?
You don't have to do anything tonight. You
Okay.
can direct staff to bring back the ordinance and the TSP to you with those amendments for your first reading at your next meeting.
All right, and you guys don't have to come. It's in concrete now, 4 to
Yeah.
2.
Yeah.
But we could do it tonight. Or no?
We could do it in one meeting or next.
Okay.
Oh, did we have other things? Oh,
Yeah, we do.
I think they want to have a 5-minute
Yeah.
recess, so
Yes.
we have a 5-minute recess.
So staff is going to bring it back to us for next meeting. You guys better be careful at next election, I'll tell you that. Huh? What do you think?
What's that?
Better be careful next election.
Oh.
During the.
Thanks, everyone.
Very good. I gotta go see. I wasn't off that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you
House
can get
fixes.
the-
Thank you.
Yeah, oh, yeah, you got time.
Huh?
We've done there like.
Not sure yet. I this up and it doesn't, if you fix it. I'm not gonna- So.
Well, driving
I mean,
by,
if okay,
Okay.
thank you, Kevin. Good job.
you.
Yeah, he has to get up at 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah. Okay, Madam Mayor?
All right, now I think there's nothing else. We have public comment.
Yes, ma'am. We do actually.
We have some public comment.
Yes, we do. Neil.
Sorry,
Okay.
All right.
I would have moved this till next month, but it's actually sort of time sensitive. Quickly talk about Face Rock parking, because you mentioned there's gonna be a fee there starting in October 1st, which is why I'm talking,
Yeah.
I'm just concerned about if people are gonna impact the parking along Beach Loop.
That's what I think.
Well, I'm sure they will.
Yeah, so I hope, the city might think about maybe putting some more signs. Particularly, it's come up before about the Tishatang gravel parking lot, which people don't know is a parking lot.
Right.
They just think it's an empty lot, so they waffle about. So it might be beneficial actually to put some signs to say, this is a parking lot.
But well, that's a good idea because
Yeah.
it's gonna be impacted with the circles in the sand.
Exactly. I'm afraid the circles, it's going to be like that all the time, particularly with the locals, because they know they're not going to park there. They're going to park somewhere else. But if you mark and make it knowledge that I can see that parking lot.
Right.
And for a year, I didn't know it was a parking lot.
It's a city owned. I didn't know it either.
I think it is. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I talked to Dana about it. And on that same similar theme, the actual access road down to Tishatang Beach It's got a couple of no parking signs there, but it doesn't go all the way to the bottom. So there has been occasions where people have parked at the bottom of that access road
Front
and
parking.
actually blocked the access to the beach. And as we know, that's really the only access point for emergency services.
Right, right.
So I think, I don't know if more signs or is anything we can
Maybe
do
Public
down there.
Works can take a look at that?
Yes, we'd be happy to.
That's it. Just, I said, I don't want to waste your time, but it's a little bit time sensitive.
Not a waste of time at all.
Thank
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yes. Glenn?
We had 3 topics to talk about tonight when I came in, and one of them was the road diet. So strangely, the second one kind of actually folded in after listening to more about the road diet. The south end of Beach Loop Road has experienced an explosion of population due to the Bradley Lake caddy cottages and housing development, etc. And the roadway there is taking an extreme toll. We have pinch flat size potholes on Beach Loop South, and the maintenance of the road is definitely in need of some attention.
Please contact your county commissioners on that. That's county
Okay.
property.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure if it was over the line because
No.
Yes, it is.
yeah.
I will tell you where the place floods. It's still flooded and this is August.
Yep.
So it's really bad. And I talked to John Sweet twice and it was in their road plan for this year. But because of all the damage they had with the big floods in winter in March, they had to postpone it a year. So there isn't going to be anything done out there for at
Okay.
least a year.
Let's bug the commissioners.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea.
Send talk to them.
7
Call them on the phone.
And the other topic today was a consideration for the council about the drug-free zone in the school zones. I wanted to offer for consideration expanding the drug-free zone list to tobacco products openly used in front of children. It is a gateway drug. People say marijuana, beer, cigarettes starts it all. In my opinion and my experience with my friends and my past, it all started with a cigarette. And I hate to see people smoking openly in front of the high school and the middle school. And I know it's their legal right now. But I would love to see that moved indoors or into private vehicles, somewhere where it's not such a
Are you,
open, flagrant.
are you talking about 9th Street?
Uh,
8th, 9th?
yes,
Ninth?
school zone, drug-free zone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know City Park,
There's no
no
smoking.
smoking.
All city.
Although the last city manager, I told him one day about it and he said he'd never heard of it. But
Yeah.
he hadn't been here when it was approved,
Yeah.
but
There are signs in the park that say no smoking unless it's in a private vehicle.
in a
Right.
car, right?
Yeah.
It's all city property, not just the park.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, and that would be my consideration, or my request for consideration would be to expand the no, drug-free zone to include tobacco product usage in front of,
So would that be
And-
our decision or the school
Well, I
board?
was going to say, also contact the school board.
That's where I'd go.
You've got some newly elected school board.
I have, and they referred it to, basically a people's rights scenario where, the police, nobody can really do anything. And so you're pretty much my last ditch effort here to see that stop in front of kids.
There's a whole new school board, believe me.
Yes.
New.
I don't know when you
engaged
contacted
and-
This year, yeah, this.
No,
they
but
just
before the election or after?
They were just seated in August.
They were just seated.
Okay, yeah, I guess it'd be the last one.
Contact the new school board.
That's
Okay.
what I would do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your time.
Huh?
You. Thank you. Next.
Is there anybody on Zoom that has the public comment?
They probably all want us to go home.
There's nobody on Zoom.
All right, so now we go to the council, or no, we go to the staff.
I have nothing to add. Thank you.
Sometimes,
How about you, Shayla?
all right.
Jerry.
Oh, I'm looking forward to the Cranberry Festival.
Yep, I think
And
we
I
all
hope
are.
everybody does show up and have a wonderful time. Thank you.
And it's in Old Town, right?
Yes.
Completely in Old
Yes,
Town.
yes, we got to talk about that too. I want to thank everybody that showed up today, everyone that wrote into this today and their testimony, their emails, everyone that called me on the phone. I just want to thank the citizens of Bandon for stepping up for something they really, really believed in. And I appreciate the council working on this so hard and coming up with our decision. And happy Cranberry, everybody.
I agree with my hearing aids coming out.
Uh-oh.
But I agree with Madeline. Thank you for everybody who came out and testified. Appreciate it.
I as well want to thank everybody for coming out, even though 90% of the room is now gone. Pass it to Archie.
Thanks to those who stuck it out with us.
Okay,
Yes, nothing.
Madam Mayor, you want to adjourn us? Yeah, let's go home.
Jill, I really, really, hot of that.
No. In fact,